Hi everyone, this is the Level Up team. I'm Mark Berry.
I'm Jennifer Fleury.
Chuck McPhee.
Ofer Ayal.
And Alexandra French.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Basically, we just wanted to come out with this video to basically just shoot from the hip about managing client expectations, both buyers and sellers. So, Chuck, did you want to start with any kind of questions?
Yeah. So we wanted to kind of regroup today. We're kind of going into the second half of the year, 2022, and the market is shifting a little bit. I think it's definitely in the mass media, and we're feeling that a little bit on the ground. And so we want to kind of always give you guys real-time updates on what we're seeing on a day-to-day activity basis and kind of where we think things are going. So today's conversation is going to be a pretty candid conversation like we do on these roundtables. As you can see, we don't have any kind of scripted presentation for this, but we're gonna kind of dive into this and see what you guys are kind of truly seeing on the ground in our transactions. So I think for the most part, everyone would agree right now we are seeing a little bit of a shift in the real estate market. Is that a fair assumption across the board?
Yeah.
We're starting to see inventory levels increase for the first time in many years. Which I don't think is a bad thing, to be honest with you. I still think the demand level is still there, so I think there are still buyer activity going on. But as we're I think we're really kind of in the top peak of this shift that we're experiencing right now. What are some things, Alexander, what are you advising some of your seller clients to consider as we're trying to navigate these next few weeks, months, who knows how long?
Yeah, so number one, pricing. Pricing is the most important thing right now. You do not, it used to be we were looking at the comps. We'd say, okay, if your neighbor's house sold for $550, we can maybe push the market, go $575. Now we're looking, okay, we cannot go by $550. We may even have to go to $525. But also, so pricing is really important, but also have patience. Long past are the days where you're going to be on the market for 2 hours and get 20 offers. Now, if you're priced right, yes, your house may still get multiple offers, but you have to be patient because your house may stay on the market for 12 days, 20 days, 42 days, who knows? But you just have to be patient right now as well.
I think the frenzy is gone. There's still the demand is there, and the inventory is still lower, but there's not that crazy feeding frenzy that we're seeing, which is probably a good thing. It gives more people more opportunity to see the house, probably with a little bit better, more like casual view of it, where they're not, just buying it sight unseen or offering sight unseen. And I think that's probably better for buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of speaking on the buyer front of it, I mean, have you guys seen anything kind of come back in on some of the offers? I know kind of from a quick recap, the last 2 years, most of our offers when we represented a buyer probably had an extremely short due diligence period, if any. Probably an extremely or non-existent financing and appraisal contingencies, which are some additional contingencies that we use to kind of protect our clients. Are you seeing some of that stuff come back in? Jennifer, I'll let you.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit less competition. So our conversations now, everything that we do is about communicating with the listing agent. Start that rapport early and finding out, it was, 6 months ago or even 3 months ago, let's just throw all the money at it. No contingencies. Try to make it the best structured offer, but now it's, do you have an offer on the property? Let's get it still, as competitive as we can, but find out where you're at. And so it's not necessarily that money's just being thrown at properties now. It's let's, make a fair price, but let's still be, it's easy to get your due diligence down if you're working with the right vendors that can come out and do your home inspection.
Sure.
So make your offer look better still by being able to offer a 5-day or even a 3-day due diligence and get your inspector out there the next day and get those repairs done and work with a lender that can get you your appraisal contingency knocked out, your finance contingency. So you may not have to have the highest offer, but your contingencies are still good. So even in this market where it's not quite as competitive, it's not costing you anything to go ahead and put your best foot forward.
Yeah, no, I think, I know for the first time personally, I've written some offers for some buyer clients of mine that we have had a little bit of extended due diligence period, or we have had an appraisal contingency. I still think it's critical to what you're saying, like you want to stand out amongst your peers and really kind of present the best picture you possibly can.
I've been seeing a lot of, financing contingency come back in, appraisal contingencies have definitely come back in. But also the length of those. I mean, before we were trying to get in your finance, your appraisal within 5 or 7 days. I've seen, 10 days. I even saw a 21 day on an offer we just received. And I think that is important with the fluctuating interest rates. If you're going to make sure you have that financing contingency with rising interest rates, you kind of know what your numbers are going to be.
I think a big play is just also price point. So like every market's a little different. So for $300,000, it could go really quickly, and it's going to have multiple offers, especially if it looks really good inside and everything else. So take that into account when finding out what.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still critical. I think from a seller's perspective, kind of going back to the other side of this and kind of because I think probably the biggest shift in understanding what's going on right now is the seller's expectations, and I think resetting where maybe the media is lagging potentially and where things are actually happening on the ground, right? And so I think from a seller's perspective, unfortunately the days of just demanding everything, I would say, is probably fewer and far between. Mark's right on. I think it's a very price point sensitive topic. You tend to see the higher the price point, the more inventory level, the longer days on market. It's natural. There's just less people that can buy at that price point or those tiers. The lower the price point, the more competitive it is. You're not only competing with just normal buyers, you're probably competing with institutional buyers as well. So they are still in the market. They still are going to buy real estate. Don't quote me on the stat, but I think I saw somewhere over the last several months, there are about 30% of the transactions happening in our marketplace are institutional buyers. And so it's still going to be competitive out there. But from a seller's perspective, more than ever, it's critical on pricing, conditions, doing all the right things we need to be doing. Is that a fair?
Yeah.
My example that I was thinking about, just to add on to that, was this property is under $300,000, so hyper competitive with the investor buyers. So in order to compete with that, they actually went no due diligence. It was all cash, and they were financially able to do that. But it's just, that's how competitive it is. No due diligence is not something I would recommend. Is get a home inspection, but in this case, it was
you still had to find a way to win.
It was the way to win.
Yeah.
And I think with buyers too, I think that as far as expectations, I think the expectation maybe 6 months ago was we're going to have let's talk about how much over asking we're going to have to give.
Yeah.
Is it going to be 10%? Is it going to be more? How much are we going to push? And I think now a more realistic offer is more attractive if you can work on the contingency part, the other things that aren't necessarily price, and it doesn't necessarily have to, just for round numbers on a $500,000 home, you don't have to start the bidding at $550 or something like that. I think it's a little bit more realistic as far as the pricing goes, and then tweaking things with a shorter due diligence, or having a lender that's a little bit more working better with the other agent or local lender. So I think it's some of those other things that make you more attractive than only specifically price.
Well, I also want to circle back around to what Jennifer said earlier about having that conversation with the listing agent, because terminations are the highest they've been now since March 2020. And so, while yes, of course, price is very important to a seller, having that surefire deal that's going to get to the closing table may actually be more important to the seller. So it's just keeping that conversation going, and keeping that conversation going with also the buyers. At this point now, we're not in the market we were back, 3, 4, 6 months ago. If you're representing the buyer, you can actually go in and ask for closing costs, or even ask for certain repairs to be done right now, and that's different than what we've been seeing.
So all this you guys are talking about, okay, so let's pretend I'm a seller. Should I wait? Are prices on the way down? Where
No,
should I hold off?
Yeah, I would take advantage of the opportunity. I just had that conversation with a client, and we were talking about pricing. She's like, should I, push it a little bit? And I was like, no, I think market value right now more than ever, because you want to make sure that you're getting offers, the traffic, and getting it sold in the time frame. She wants to capitalize on the market.
Sure.
So
It's
I recommended just the price on the bridge, which is the intersection or overlay in between different buyer pools. So in this case, you get from $200,000 to $300,000, as well as $300,000 to $400,000 buyers, and they all kind of come together at that one intersection. So that's pricing on a bridge. Not always applicable in case, sometimes it's
Where it falls out.
$350 or $325, $375, that wouldn't matter, but this case it was definitely the way to go. So.
Over
And context matters. So if you're talking about a house that maybe is a little bit outdated, or maybe needs some minorly major things to be done with them. It's a great thing to sell, but you have to tell the buyer that, well, the seller, excuse me, that it's not just gonna, people don't just look past that stuff. Now, if the kitchen is not remodeled, let's say, or updated, that might be a hurdle for some people. So it's not that people are coming in blind like they might have been 6 months ago. So it's that expectation saying, okay, if we're gonna price it at this point, but you don't have a kitchen that's been updated, well, perhaps then let's not expect to get, the moon, the sun, and the stars. Or if you do have a kitchen that's been updated and everything else been updated, well, maybe we will be able to get those things. But I think it's about that context makes a difference.
Yeah, and you guys know I'm living this right now. Decided to just probably hit the max value for my home was, as far as things are going. But I think the biggest part of that is understanding that you want the people to walk in your home to want to put in an offer now. So it's, it may not cost you that much to get it ready, but have it staged. Do you need to touch up paint in certain rooms? Do you, declutter, get it ready so that the people that come in are putting in an offer? Because there may not be as many people just streaming through your house every 15 minutes or showings like there have been the last 2 years. But make sure that those people, on our first day, we only had 3 showings and we started panicking. We're like, why are there only 3 showings? But 2 of those 3 people put in an offer, and the third one probably would have, but we took one of those offers. So because the home looked like it was ready to move in,
Okay, perfect. All right, so real quick to kind of wrap this up, what do you? I'll try to rapid fire these questions, maybe yes, no. Going into tail end of 2022. All right, home prices going up or going down?
I think it's a combination.
Okay.
Sorry, I know that's not exactly what you were shooting for. I do want to kind of touch back on, because I didn't get to talk a moment ago, about buyers, sellers, whether it's time to buy, time to sell. So for your buyers, yes, you could try get a deal out there if you want to. You can try to negotiate. I'm not a huge Dave Ramsey fan, but he did say that prices. The cheapest time to buy a house is buy it now, because the rate of appreciation is still going to go up. It's going to be a slower rate, but it's still going to continue to increase. So if you're a buyer, go ahead, buy now. And if you're a seller, should you sell now? Probably go ahead and do it, because you've had, since the market started shifting a little bit, you've had a lot of sellers who are waiting. They hit this panic mode. They're like, I want to sell now. Inventory is only going to it's going to continue to increase, and so why have more competition? So if you're a buyer, go ahead, buy now, because it's going to get more expensive. If you're a seller, go ahead, sell now, because you're going to have more competition down the line.
Again, this is not scripted, guys. Prices going up or down?
I think prices are going to go up, but maybe not at the steep rate that they were.
Fair enough. Mark, up or down prices?
Up, and agree with that. Just steady incline.
Okay.
I think we're back to an average of 5 to 10% home value increase for Atlanta, because that's what typically Atlanta is.
Yeah, and I would conclude with everything. I mean, I think the economists that we listen to and the people that we watch and kind of follow that are predicting where the pricing model is going to go, I think you're going to see a deceleration in appreciation. So it's not going to be this 20-30% that we've seen from 2020, right?
Which we all knew was not sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some crazy market appreciation over the last 2 years. Do I think values are still going to go up? Yes, I think they're going to go up at a much more healthy rate. It is going to be more of just a natural climb. I think the funny money offers that we talked about earlier, those are gone. Those all happened kind of February, March, April of this year. I still think you got to do the basics and when it comes to getting your home sold. So, any other last things to kind of wrap this up? Questions?
I think, as always, that if you have any questions about any of the topics that we talk about, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always here for you in whatever capacity you might need. And thank you for watching Level Up Group.
Thanks,
See
guys.
you next
Thanks,
time.
guys.